Now I'm going to go back to the character we've been working on here. I'm going to use a macro in here that's going to be, I have this tool selected out of all these tools here, so I'm going to go in here to macro, delete unselected tools and hit OK. That'll clear out all of these tools in here I'm not going to use and just narrow it down to this. So if I do a quick save by hitting 9 on my keyboard, it'll quick save much faster and clear a little bit of my clutter out. Now let's talk about another very important concept, and that's insert mesh brushes and insert curve brushes. So if I go here to BI, you're going to see a bunch of default insert mesh brushes, and some of them are pretty useful. So if I want to go through here and say industrial parts, I can go through here and I can scale up here at the top. There's going to be a little drop down area, and if you don't like this, you can go here to Preferences, Interface, IMM Viewer, and you can turn off Auto Show and Auto Hide. If it is not showing, you can just hit M on your keyboard and have the selection available to you. And essentially all an insert mesh brush is you choose an insert mesh brush, you just drag it onto your object here, and you can just insert meshes onto that object. This will come in handy for all sorts of reasons. But if you also want, you can say turn on auto show and auto hide. So if you have your standard brush selected, it's not there. If you go BI brush insert and choose an insert mesh brush, you're going to see a little number next to here. That's going to indicate how many insert mesh objects are in that brush. So we can just choose this one. There's 12. We can just go through here and we can scroll through here. Another function of this is if we choose one and we drag it out on our object here and we hit W, that's going to put a gizmo right in the middle of here, and you're also going to see it's auto mask. So if I go over here to auto masking, you're going to see auto mask mesh insert is on by default. So whenever I drag an insert mesh brush out on my object, I can very quickly go through here and move it, or subtool split mask points or split unmask points, and I can put this onto its own subtool. Another thing I can do is I can hit W and bring the gizmo up, and I can go through here and I can just swap out these on the fly. So if I want to go through here and try out some different things, we can go through here and just choose these. And again, if I'm done, I can hit Q to go back into draw mode, and I can say split unmask points. And I can also use my custom menu here. You can see those split options are right here, and now these are on their own subtool. Now one thing I can use, I can go in here to BI brush insert, and I can say this insert mesh body parts, select that. I'm going to hit M, I'm going to grab the hand, and if I drag over here, you're going to see, oh, the hands are on the wrong side. That's okay. I just need to come over to this side here and drag these out. Now you're going to see when I drag these out, these Phillips head screws get auto masked. That's because if I go into solo mode here, I'm actually dragging these out on the subtool. Now, if I try to drag out down here, it's not going to let me. It's just going to make me navigate. However, if I go out of solo mode and there's a mesh here, I can just drag here. It'll stick to that mesh, but it'll still be part of this subtool here. So if I go into solo mode here, you can see there's my hands and there's my masked objects. So if I want, I can go down here to split unmask points. I can alt tap the hands. Those will be selected. I can hit gizmo or W to go into gizmo mode. I can go through here and I can move these hands into place. Now if I want to scale them up, remember if I scale, it's going to go away and towards that world axis. Go over here to LSim, your local symmetry button, then you can scale those out along those local axis here. So now we have our own hand subtool. Now you may think, well, let me go ahead and merge these hands with the body, and I can do that. I can take the body here. I'm going to go down one, so it's right above here, and I can use my hotkey, or I can say merge down, and because this already had Dynamesh properties built in, I can just control drag and it'll Dynamesh these hands together. And in this case, it did okay. However, if this was a very low resolution mesh and I Dynameshed, you're going to see it's going to stick those fingers together. So depending on the resolution of your mesh, it may not be a good idea to Dynamesh things together. And remember, you can always leave them separate. So right here, you also notice when you drag out an insert mesh brush, if I go to BI industrial parts here and we just start dragging these out, it'll give these a new polygroup as I continue to drag. So we can use that to our advantage now too. We can hold down Control Shift, isolate just this insert mesh polygroup here, and I can go over here to split hidden. So I can continue to work on these hands separately, and if I want, I can Dynamesh these at a higher resolution and work on them as a Dynamesh, or I can go through here with my ZModeler brush, BZM, or assign a hotkey to that, and you can say hover over an edge, hold down spacebar, close convex hole. You can close this hole. You can hit Control D to subdivide, or go down here to geometry hit the divide button, and you can just work on these separately, just subdividing as needed, going through here with like, hold down Control, go in here to mask lasso. We can move these fingers apart here using our gizmo, or remember you can hold down Control and drag, and it'll auto mask for you from those videos. So you can very quickly go through here, pose fingers out. We can hold down Control, drag over this knuckle, Control tap to invert that, W, Alt tap on this knuckle, and bend these in. And again, very quickly go through and pose and continue working on these fingers separately. And in fact, if we want to make these very wide fingers, just go through here and inflate these fingers. You can see it might be a good idea for us just to go through and start masking and spreading these fingers out just a little bit so that if I did want to go through and dynamesh these together, I could. But again, we can go through here, every single knuckle, Control Alt to unmask, W, Alt tap on that knuckle position, go through here and pose, or you can hit W and then hit Y to go to transpose, and then continue to Control drag, and then put a transpose line down here, and you can use this, hit R to go into rotate, and you can use this to bend. So again, we can just mask through here, move this bone, and use this to kind of bend. So we'll go through here, and I'll just go ahead and inflate these hands up. And like I said before, we can just work on these hands separately. And if you want to deflate, we can hold down Alt while we inflate, or you can hold down Shift to smooth. So feel free to work on these at separate resolutions and separate pieces of geometry. And then if you want to merge these back together later after the body is at a higher resolution, you can do that. So remember the flexibility of working on separate subtools. Now, using what we've learned up to this point, we can very quickly create some eyeballs. So I'm going to go to BI Brush Insert. There's an IMM Primitives and IMM Primitives H. These have a hole in the back of them, which you can use for mesh fusion and things like that. These are solid mesh primitives, so we're going to go select this one. You can go up here and select, or I can hit M on my keyboard. We'll just grab a sphere 32, drag it into the eye sockets here. Let's go ahead and say Split Mask Points, or use your subtool Split menu. And hit W. That's what Y to go back into gizmo mode here. And you're going to see I can move and rotate these around. And if we're going to scale these up or down, make sure you do have LSIM turned on so we can scale on this local axis. So we can go ahead and position these eyeballs in place. And if we hold down Control Shift, we can go through here and we can use Slice, or even better, Trim, to go ahead and give ourselves some quick eyelids. So with this eyeball selected, we can go through here and we can duplicate twice. I'm going to choose one of the duplicates, go in here to polyframe mode, go to the side. We're going to trim the bottom of these eyelids down, and then choose the other duplicate, and we're going to trim the top of that sphere. So now we have bottom lids, top lids, and then our eyeball here. Now our top lids probably need to come out a little further. Of course, you can go through here, you can use your move brush and move these around, but remember, you can go in here to your Z modeler brush, BZM, hover over a face, go to Q Mesh, Polygroup All, and then just pull this out and hold down Shift to pull along those surface normals. Same thing for the lower lid. If you want, you can Alt tap, and you may not be able to select it, but just go over here and you can select it, then just hold down Shift and pull along. So now you have upper and lower lids, which might be a little easier to go through here now and shape using the move brush. And again, because these are all separate subtools, it's very easy to alt click through here, go in here and move things around. If you need a mask or continue sculpting on a mesh, go through here and continue refining. Now you're not just limited to what's in here. You can go to BI Brush Insert, and there's a lot of really cool things. If you go in here to like IMM Model Toolkit and hit M, you'll see there's a bunch of things you can choose in here. You can also hit the comma key, go in here to Brush, choose Insert IMM, and there's some really cool ones in here like Dragon Bones. You can double click on here, hit M, grab a horn, drag it onto your canvas here, position the horns on the head. I'm going to do a quick split mask points or split mask points down here, and you can alt tap on this head, you can go through here and you can sculpt, you can alt tap on the horn, you can control drag because Dynamesh settings will already be set because you dragged it on something that already had Dynamesh properties, and you can sculpt this separately as well. If you don't want anything, want to use these, of course you can go through here, you can delete that subtool here, and on this subtool we can just Control Z to undo those changes. Now there are some brush options we need to be made aware of, so I go here to BI Brush Insert, we'll go back to our industrial parts here, and if I choose M, and I choose like a bolt head, and I drag it on my object here, you're going to see they're this size. If I change this Z intensity down, I can drag that out and they'll be flatter. And in fact, I can crank this up. It's going to cap out at a Z intensity of 100. But underneath our brush menu here, I can go all the way down to modifiers. You can see there's a strength multiplier. So I can crank this up. And now when I drag this out, it'll be even longer. There's some other really cool options in here. There's a projection strength. So if I drag something out, let's go ahead and hit BI Brush Insert Model Toolkit. We'll hit M. I'll go ahead and grab this plates 6 here. So when I drag this out, you're going to see it's just going to be flat against my object here. However, if I turn projection strength up to 100, as I drag this out, it's going to want to conform to the underlying surface. So I can continue to drag these out, and they'll again wrap to the underlying mesh. Of course, at this point, if I want to separate these out, I can hold down Control Shift and select my body here, and if it's all one polygroup, it'll select it. If you had multiple polygroups on here, sometimes it's easier just to hold down Control Shift, grab Select Rectangle, grab a little piece of it, Control Shift A, which again, if you remember, is Visibility Grow All, and now I can do a subtool Split Hidden, and then these will be on their own subtool. I'm going to Alt Tap on the head here again. And if I go in here to BI Brush Insert Industrial Parts one more time, you're going to see there's a multi-mesh selector. So if you set this to 1, it'll actually cycle through. So it'll start with the bolt and then go to the screw and then just continue to cycle through forward. 2 will cycle backwards. And then 3 will be random. So we can go ahead and undo back through here. And again, we can just take this subtool and just delete that out of our scene. Now, when I drag these out, let's say choose that bolt head again. As I drag these out, you're going to see I can stop and then I can drag out another one. But what if you wanted these to be the same size? And let's go back here and switch this back to 0. So if I hold down, or as I start to drag out, I hold down Control, it'll snap to your brush size. So you can see as I go through here, it'll go ahead and snap it. And then if I make my brush size larger, it'll go through here and snap. And if I make my brush size smaller, and I go through here and hold down Control, it'll continue to snap to that brush size. So that'll keep things nice and consistent. Now you can create your own insert mesh brushes, and you can use any geometry for that. For example, I can take this character here, I'm going to go ahead and say clone, and that's going to clone his body into its own subtool here. I'm going to hold down Control Shift, I'm going to slice, let's go into polyframe mode, so I'm going to slice right along this line here and just take his head, I'll hold down Control Shift, isolate his head, geometry, modify topology, delete hidden, and remember, you can put that in your custom menu. And in fact, I can go ahead and duplicate this one off, hold down Control Shift, I'm going to slice his face, I can isolate this one, and then again, delete hidden. I can go through here and I can append a ring, and if you notice in here, I also have my own custom menu. So if I hit BI Brush Insert, I have an IMM Base Primitives. These are custom shapes I've added, and they're all named. And they're also like, here's a sphere 16, 12, 8. Here's a cylinder 16, 12, 8. Cylinders from different angles. And you can do the exact same thing very simply by going in here and choosing a cylinder 3D. And we can initialize this as a, say, a 16 and a 4. Hit Make Polymesh 3D, and we'll come back to that cylinder 3D initialize primitive and change this to 12. Hit Make Polymesh 3D. Go back to the cylinder, make this 8. Make Polymesh 3D. So now we have 3 Polymesh 3D cylinders in here, and if I want to, I can rename these now. So I can name this one Cylinder 16, I can name this one. Cylinder 12, name this one. Cylinder 8. I'm going to go back to my working file that has the two faces and the ring. I'm just going to go through here and I'm going to append the 16, the 12, and the 8. Now, one important thing to know is that I need to choose the camera angle that I'm going to capture this object. So if I want to capture from, if I turn on the floor, Z forward, and I'm going to capture all of my brushes at that angle, I can do it one at a time. If I just want to make a brush of this head, and normally when I drag out a head, I kind of want to maybe drag it out so the neck is down. So I'm going to go to the top here, hit B, create insert mesh, new. And then if I hit B over here, you're going to say I have a new insert mesh that's just the head. And so at any point, I can go in here to any of my creations here, drag on a head, control drag to dynamesh all this together, maybe go in here with inflate, and now I have an object with a head on it. However, if I want to save all of these as a brush, I can do two things. Number one, I already have a brush started, so I have an insert mesh brush here. So I can go now to the second subtool. Again, I can snap my camera view to the angle I want it at, so I can hit B, create insert mesh, append, and that'll append it to that current brush. So now it has two in here. So now I go back to this one again and go to the back of the head, and I can just put a face on the back of this head here, control drag again, and now we have a face ready to go. But if I want to capture every single one of these into a brush, one thing I want to do is I want to make sure I name these. So let's go down here and we'll call this head, and we'll call this face, and we'll call this ring. Now I mentioned before, the orientation of these is very important. If I drag this cylinder, if I capture, for example, this cylinder as is, so if I go to B, create insert mesh, new, and I go back to a character here and I drag the cylinder out, it's going to drag towards me as the camera was looking at the object. However, if I go back to my brush here and I move my camera this way, and I go to B, create insert mesh, append, they're both named the same, they're both cylinder 17. But if I go back here and now I drag it out, they're going to be facing towards me this way. So how you capture them is important, and if you want to capture multiple subtools into one brush very quickly, make sure they're oriented correctly first. So first you need to decide where you're going to capture these. We're going to say Z forward. And to make things a little bit easier to find them, I'm going to say, with this head selected, go down here to Deformation, Unify, and then just do a quick repeat to other. So now every single object in my scene is sitting right in the middle here. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate them how I want them to be captured. So the head, I want the neck to be away from how I drag this out. So I want the top of the head. Let's go ahead and reset our axis and go to Mesh Center. So I'm going to hold down Shift and rotate this way so the head is towards the camera and the neck is away. So when I drag this out on my object, this is what I'm going to see. Same thing with the cylinders. I'm going to make sure I rotate these 90 degrees. And the ring I can do multiple ways. I can have the ring drag out towards the camera like this, and I can duplicate this, and I can rotate this one, and I can go ahead and rename this ring forward. And I might as well rename these so that they're correct. There we go. So now, again, I want to capture from Z forward, and if I click through here, all of them are facing the way that I want them to towards the camera. So now instead of going through here and saying B, create insert mesh, we can go in here to say create insert multi-mesh. So I hit this button, and now we have multiple objects here. So if I go back to our creation here, let's go ahead and raise our Dynamesh resolution up just a bit. So now I can hit M, and you're going to see I have a ring that'll drag out like this, and a ring that'll drag out forward. Now, when I dragged out that ring, you're going to see it sits right on top of the object. If by default you want to change that embedding amount, you can go over here to your depth and you can say embed at 0. And now when I drag this out, it's going to go right through the middle of that ring. Or you can embed it further, or you can have it sitting on top of your mesh. Just depends on what result you want to see by default. So let's say we really like this brush a lot. I can go up here. Well, number one, we can say, I can tap through here and we can just start dragging these out, or we can even go through here and say multi-mesh selector 1. And as we drag these out, it'll start cycling through our mesh. Let's turn off our floor here. Control drag to unmask. And we can use this as our brush icon. So I can go in here to brush, save as. I'm going to hold down Alt and say select icon, and that'll give us a new icon here. I can do save as, and if I'm not planning on using this a lot, I'm going to go to ZBrush 2021, ZBrushes. I can throw them here in the IMM, and we'll call this one test. So now when I hit the comma key, go to my brushes, go to underscore IMM, you're going to see there's our test brush that we can bring in whenever we'd like.